now that they might just hurt.
Dad says he hopes the son he calls a teddy bear will be cleared of any wrongdoing.
We'll be right behind you no matter what.
All right, our case this week was something that I just kind of stumbled upon. I was looking at all your guys' suggestions, and we do them all the time. But this week, I just kind of stumbled into something.
Yeah.
A case that I'm surprised that other podcasts haven't done. Other true crime podcasts, big ones.
Right.
You know, I looked into it, and I couldn't find like any of the big name ones that had done this one yet. And I was kind of surprised because there's a lot of speculation, but there's also it's just interesting stories that all connected in an interesting.
Yeah, it's
way.
kind of 2 or 3 cases, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Depending on how many you want to.
Technically, there's 2 cases that we're going to cover, and then they end up being connected in the end. We find out who the person was, and then also there's speculation at the end of this episode on, you know, whether this guy actually killed. So now you know it's a guy, but whether he killed more people in the area or not. And the area we're talking about would be Virginia.
That's right.
Yeah, right above your home state.
That's right.
North Carolina. Well, now your home state's Nevada. And don't say Nevada, people. Joe Rogan still does this after years of coming here to do UFC fights. He still says Nevada.
He says Nevada. He says Nevada.
He says Nevada, and it is Nevada. Get it right, people. So, I mean, I'm one to talk because I mispronounce everything. I've torn apart almost every person that listened to this city at some point, I'm sure. So, but, you know, you're more than welcome to correct me on it.
Yeah, you should do it.
All right, let's get into the first case of the 2 that we end up connecting later. The first one would be Morgan Dana Harrington. She was 20 years old. She was a student at Virginia Tech. This was in 2009.
Right.
And leading up to October 17th, 2009, she is
At a Metallica concert,
well,
right?
she's planning to go. She's super excited about this concert. She's a big rock fan. I also love Metallica, so I could feel her excitement for her.
I heard she was.
She bought the tickets for her and her friends, and she had her outfit all planned out and everything. This is a big deal, and this was actually at John Paul Jones Arena, which was actually part of like the Virginia Tech school area.
Right.
And so she went with 3 friends. This is like I mentioned, October 17th, which is
Pre-gaming the whole time.
actually my birthday, October 17th.
Oh, well, it's good to know.
You know, that was another thing that just like being the egomaniac that I am when I was like, oh, this happened on my birthday.
This was
so now
made for me. I'm sorry, all you listeners with suggestions. This case just calls to me.
During the opening act, she left to go to the restroom. This is about 8:30 p.m. and the concert was starting at 9. So you know, some opening bands suck. It's just go.
I mean, if there's a time to go to the bathroom, I think it's that time.
Right. You went there for Metallica, not for the opening band. So
That's right.
So she takes off, and usually it's weird because I feel like women never go to the bathroom alone. You know, like if they're at an event with friends, I'm just amazed at the other 3. None of them went with her.
Well, I think at this point, I don't think she really gave a fuck because she had been drinking like the whole time.
Yeah.
Like they even took her car, but she couldn't drive. Her friends like took her keys on the way there. They're like, you know what? You're never gonna.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they took her car like when they were getting ready to leave. They were like, you're not even driving there, much less back.
Right. Do that, people. I mean, just a quick. I'm just gonna say that. Just.
Oh yeah.
If your friends get too drunk to drive, just take their keys. They might be mad at you that night, but they'll understand. Because I've had, I believe, 2 of my friends leave my old house before I moved here. Like it was the partying days, my early 20s. Yeah. I had 2 friends leave my house and get DUIs, and you don't feel good. You feel kind of responsible.
Well, I think that's best case scenario, Lauren.
Right. Well,
I thought you were gonna say like they got in an accident or something.
They died.
Oh.
It's not even funny, but
it's like the DUI bankrupted them. They lost their job.
Well, no, but I mean, it's just unfortunate that I even let them. I mean, I guess it is better than them going out and hurting somebody or themselves, but
yeah. So there's that line of defense. That's what the cops are for.
Right. So she had good friends that took her keys. That's the whole point of what we before.
Oh, is that where we're going around to?
Yeah, before we went our little tangent. So she goes to the bathroom at 8:30, and time's going by. 18 minutes later, she's still not back. At 8:48, one of her friends calls her phone, where she answers and said that she was denied re-entry. So she left
this
the
part's
arena.
Weird. That's what I was about to say.
It is weird because
Why did she leave?
The arena should have had bathrooms.
Yeah, but I feel like maybe she did use the bathroom, but then for some reason needed to go outside of the stadium because that's where she eventually ends up.
Right.
Somehow she ends up outside.
Somehow, regardless, she, on the phone with her friend, tells her that she's outside, she can't get back in, and that she would find a ride home.
Yeah, quote unquote, find a ride.
But like you had mentioned, she didn't have her keys. She didn't have a car to drive, nor was she in the condition to drive.
Right.
So she starts kind of walking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was seen hiking over the bridge, or trying to hitchhike over a nearby bridge, right?
Right.
There was several eyewitnesses that saw her.
Witnesses even said that she appeared intoxicated, and had a small cut on her chin from a fall earlier. So definitely,
Right. I don't know if that happened inside or while she was outside or what.
yeah.
I imagine she probably stumbled coming up the seats or something like that in the stadium or something.
Yeah,
like
maybe
that.
going up the concrete stairs in the
Yeah.
stadium. She also had no cash. She had given her cash to one of her friends to buy merch at the.
It's just a perfect storm right now, right?
Well, you go when you go to a concert. That's half the fun, right? Picking out the shirt you want, so you can.
But she didn't even get to pick it out. She gave it to her friend. She was going to
Maybe
let
she
them
bought
make the
herself one
decision.
too. I don't know.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
She was wearing a Pantera shirt at the time.
That's pretty
That's
dope.
also a thing that real experienced concert goers do. You don't wear the shirt of the concert you're going to watch.
No.
That's a big no. I've learned.
No, you do not. It's tacky.
It is.
That's tacky.
You wear a band of the similar ilk.
The only time it's okay to do something like that is like a sports game. Mm-hmm. You know, like
Well,
if you're going
no,
to
I
see the
typically
Cubs
am a Niner
and you-
fan, and I usually wear a Chiefs jersey when I go to the Niners game because I think it's tacky to wear the same team that I'm rooting for.
That's true. That's
Shout out
classy.
Shannon.
Oh, jeez.
Fuck the Chiefs.
All right. So anyway,
Back on track. So she's walking. She's trying to get home. She's seen at the University Hall West parking lot. She's also seen at the Lanigan Track parking lot and the Copley Bridge. Now, this is the last place that she was seen by someone that could later relay to the police that they had seen her walking.
Right.
This was around 9:23 p.m. and she was seen hitchhiking with her thumb out. So full on just trying to.
Well,
hitch
how
a
else
ride.
do you hitchhike?
I mean, yeah, but
Just move your finger out. I'm going that way.
put a sign.
If you are.
Tone
Yeah.
of power bust.
Oh, okay. It's on.
I don't know why I pulled that down out of my ass.
I don't know.
As we've talked about on this show, however, Michael, hitchhiking can go wrong.
Oh, can it?
Yeah, we kind of had a
That's
whole
how I get to your house every week.
we had a whole freeway killer series about this.
Oh, that's right. That's right. There were some people.
The freeway killers relied on hitchhiking,
It's true.
and she was trying to hitchhike, and she got in the wrong car apparently because the next morning, that whole night her friends hadn't seen her again, and the next morning,
Yeah.
I'm sure they assumed she had made it home, but she hadn't because her parents hadn't heard from her. Started calling her friends.
Right.
And panic ensues. This would be October 18th, around 7 a.m. A University of Virginia lacrosse player found a purse along the fence at Lanigan Track.
Right. Filled with all of her personal items.
Right inside
Debit card,
inside
license,
the purse,
everything.
yeah, was her student ID, her driver's license, debit card, and also a small flask which was empty, which she had been using to partake.
Right.
Her parents were pleading at this point with the public to help find their daughter. It was, everybody. It was
Oh, you
all
can
over the
imagine
news in
this-
Virginia, and
Yeah. Her parents were very vocal about it, which, I mean, I think most parents will. Well, I don't know. Some, I guess, would just go and be more reserved and mourn, but they really wanted answers, and they were really pushing. She was actually her mother was like later getting involved in like other cases.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about.
yeah. Now, the night she disappeared, Morgan was wearing a black shirt. I talked about Pantera.
Right.
She was wearing a black shirt with a Pantera logo on it, long black boots, and a black skirt as well.
And gothed out for it.
Yeah.
That's the right attire, I would think.
Yeah, I guess goth it up. I mean, it's not, for me, I would just go to Metallica in like jeans and a t-shirt, but
Metallica t-shirt. Yo, tacky ass.
yeah, I would. Ride the lightning.
Have the tour dates on the back.
Yeah. Yeah, so the community and the parents, Morgan's parents, are searching frantically. There's no sign of her. On November 11th, the police would finally get a break. They would respond to a property on 15th Street near Grady Avenue where a black T-shirt believed to be Morgan's was discovered. And it's kind of eerie the way that this shirt was discovered. It was draped over a bush.
Yeah.
And it was almost described by the officer that found it as like a trophy.
Yeah. It's like he
they were
wanted
being
to find it.
taunted. Yeah,
It's like, hey, check out what I did. Good luck.
right.
Oh, shit, you found her.
Now, the shirt would be sent to the Virginia Department of Forensic Science, where it was tested for DNA. A hair found on the shirt contained the same mitochondrial DNA profile as Gil Harrington's maternal relatives. So basically, they now have confirmation that this was Morgan's shirt because
Right.
it matched her father's DNA.
Right.
Also, a hair on the shirt from a dog was found. Now, that's kind of interesting because they tested that and it
foreshadowing.
didn't appear to connect to the Harringtons'
Right.
dog, family dog.
Right.
So they may have a break there, so they hold on to that for later.
Good thinking.
Now, it was a harsh winter that year in 2009 in Virginia. A lot of snowfall made the search for Morgan really tough.
Right.
And so it would end up not being until January 26th when a farmer was checking his fences along a rural part of Albemarle County. Now, I had to talk to you, and I still probably didn't get it right.
Albemarle, yeah.
You said there's a
Close.
town in North Carolina called Albemarle?
Yeah,
I'll probably just keep butchering it.
Albemarle. That's
Now,
okay.
the farmer thought that what he was coming up upon was an animal, of course.
Right.
But then when he got closer, he realized that it was actually a human skull.
What was he doing? Checking his fences?
Yeah.
Oh, that what he does?
Yeah, I mean, when it's,
Walks the fences.
I'm sure after a tough winter, you want to make sure your fences are up. You don't want your cattle getting out, right?
That's right.
Yeah. The remains would be determined to be Morgan Harrington, and the cause of death would be ruled homicidal violence of undetermined origin. Now, I'm sure there was a advanced state of decay at this point because it's
Right.
been a couple months.
Did they ever
in a
say
harsh
what?
winter.
They ever say what the actual literal cause of death was? I couldn't find that.
Well, she had a spiral arm fracture of her left upper arm,
Right.
two rib fractures, and a fracture to her skull.
oh,
So
okay. Well, that makes
if
sense.
it wasn't strangulation, it was some sort of blunt force.
I feel like they would have said something as far as like a laceration around the neck or something.
Well,
I
I
feel
mean,
like that would be
the-
super important.
It had been a couple months, so I don't know how much flesh was left for them to
Oh,
be able
that's
to.
true. But it was most
Maybe
likely
some
the,
kind of
the
a bone-
skull fracture, I would say.
Right. Harrington's mother, Gill, confirmed on May 17, 2010, that her daughter had been raped. We have a quote from her mother. It has been 7 months since Morgan was abducted, raped, and murdered. Still no resolution. We find some comfort in having recovered her body, knowing it is better not knowing than trying to fill the blanks.
Right.
Knowing it is better than not knowing, obviously.
Yeah, and trying to fill in the blanks yourself.
Right.
Right. Your mind can you imagine as a parent, man, the places your
No.
mind could go.
Right.
And then until you
Is
have
he
that
still
closure,
alive, being held captive?
that's
or-
worse. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Oh,
a
it is.
child out there, and like I'm here, like we're still in the same world together, and I can't find them. And
Right. Subsequent analysis of a blood stain on Morgan's Pantera shirt showed the same major contributor as the DNA profile of another matter in Fairfax in 2005. Now, so we'll talk just briefly about what happened in 2005 in Fairfax. A 26-year-old woman was attacked and raped while walking home from a grocery store in Fairfax City. DNA of the attacker and a sketch was provided by the victim. That's kind of crazy. She was.
She goes on later to testify, right? This victim.
She does. She does come
She's
back.
kind of the hero here.
She is. And also another guy that was a hero happened to show up during this whole assault that was taking place. It was like at the edge of a parking lot and there was woods there.
Right.
And he had
just happened to
what's
pull up
crazy
in
is the attacker had picked her up and carried her from the parking lot into the woods. That just shows you how strong this person was.
Right.
That we're going to end up talking about later on. And the person that I'm talking about, the man pulled into a parking space, and his lights happened to be shining towards the woods where
Yep,
this was going
right on
on,
him.
and kind of caught things in the act. Saw a bloody woman come out of the woods,
Exactly.
and she told him that the guy was up in there, and he's yelling out, calling for him, but the guy was gone by then. But they did have a sketch and DNA from this attack, and what's crazy is that now this Morgan Harrington case, the DNA links from her shirt to this attack in 05.
Right. But they still don't have any suspects, but they do know it's the same.
But they're looking at it. They
same
now
guy
have
is tied to both.
But now they're pretty much assuming they have a sketch of the guy that is responsible for
both.
Morgan's
Right.
disappearance.
Right.
And the sketch appears to be a black man in his 20s, 30s, maybe a thicker guy. Looks like a big guy in the picture, and it shows like
Close
no
cut hair, almost like
Yeah.
kind of a fade, but a little more on top.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
it had one with a beard and one without a beard. So I mean,
Right.
it's not a ton to go on, but it gives you ethnicity, age around, and it appears to be
I think-
a bigger guy.
I think
she
the
said that
art-
she thought he was like 6'1", in the 200-pound range.
Right. I think the artist and the witness both did an amazing
They
job.
did.
though.
When you find out what he really looks like later on, it's
and it was at night.
right.
You know, I mean, in a darker area near the woods. So, yeah, that's pretty impressive that she was able to recall that much. That kind of tells a little bit about this girl's intelligence and what she's capable of.
Right. Now, Crime Stoppers during this time would offer a $100,000 reward, and the band Metallica actually added an additional $50,000 reward for information leading to the conviction
Really?
of whoever took Morgan Harrington
Those are some stand-up guys, man.
and killed her. Yeah, and there's actually, you can watch the video of James Hetfield actually doing his little
Really?
spiel about please help find Hannah Morgan. And
Right.
it's cool to know that a band would actually
I'll give some extra money.
step in. Yeah, I mean, dude, they're balling. I don't think 50K
yeah.
is going to hurt them even then.
Hell no.
Now around here, the case goes cold. All they had was a DNA a profile and a sketch of the attacker, but they didn't have any leads as far as who it was.
Right.
Where,
Nothing on file.
Where to
compare it
locate
to.
him. They were thinking that he probably knew the area where the body was found because it was such a rural area, and it was just strange that he would take him there.
Right.
But I mean, I guess you wouldn't take
I mean,
the
you
body
take
to
him
a
to
city
Central,
either.
Yeah, you're not taking him to Central Park.
Right. Now we're going to fast forward from 2009 all the way up to September of 2014, where the second part of this case takes place. And this would be Friday the 12th / Saturday the 13th of September 2014.
Right.
Hannah Elizabeth Graham, who's 18 years old, she was a British-American student at the University of Virginia. She had just started her second year. Now we've been talking about doing a British case because we had,
This doesn't count one.
pretty decent following, and I was hoping this would count.
No, it
No,
doesn't count.
we're looking for a good case in Great Britain, and thanks for all of you your suggestions.
Yeah.
I'm sure within the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'm going to say we will have one. We have one in mind, but it's not what you guys have suggested, and it's very different. We're hoping it works out.
Good, because I want to try out talking like Ricky Gervais, so we need to get on that.
All right, just don't go shooting any animals now.
No.
I know he's
Ricky Gervais.
he hates hunters, but he eats meat, so it's kind of weird. Whatever, Ricky.
Yeah, whatever.
He's funny. He is
Funny
funny.
as
He is
fuck.
funny. Back to Hannah Graham. Oh, we talked about it was her second year starting at the University of Virginia. She was known as super smart, musically talented, witty, and she was captain of the softball team as well. Now, this is after 1 year at the college. It kind of tells you how quickly and easily she fit in. She becomes captain of the softball
Yeah.
team. And
Watch out, people. The British are coming.
right,
Come over here and dominating everything.
all right, Paul Revere.
Yeah.
She was out late partying with friends at 11:50 p.m. that night, the night of Friday the 12th. She was at the Camden Plaza Apartments in the 200 block of 14th Street. And from there, she left the party and was seen on surveillance outside the McGrady's pub on Grady Street. Now, when she left the apartments, one of her friends did offer to give her a ride home because she, much like Morgan Harrington, had been drinking.
Right.
And she would end up leaving the apartments and be seen on McGrady's pub on Grady Street at about 12:45 a.m. Now, this begins a series of her being spotted on surveillance cameras all over.
And there is footage of her walking around the area.
Yeah,
and things
mainly
like
the
that.
downtown area.
Don't go watch that yet. It'll give things away.
Right, but the police, after she comes up missing, much like Morgan Harrington did.
Right.
And the police would use a lot of these surveillance cameras to link things together and try to figure out what she was doing that night. And it's
Right.
not real clear a lot of times because she was intoxicated, and it seems much like Morgan Harrington, she was just kind of lost or
Right,
not
right.
sure what she was doing.
Right.
She would be seen at McGrady's pub, and on the footage from McGrady's pub, you see her come up, and there's an outdoor patio outside this pub, and she walks up, goes around the patio, and then kind of just goes right back in the same direction where
Right.
she came from. And that was at 12:45 a.m. The video also shows her stumble, going up the curb. She almost falls down, and she appears to either be drunk or injured, most likely drunk.
Right. Or both. Yeah. At this point,
Maybe.
you never know.
Yeah, 12:55 a.m. She's seen on a Shell gas station surveillance video on Preston Avenue. Very strange because she's running.
She's running here, yeah.
She's running eastward on Preston Street, and you can see for the camera goes through the parking lot of the gas station and across
Right, but-
the street, and you see her running.
and
but
you don't
there's
see anyone following
yeah,
her.
there's no one chasing her because obviously they could just keep fast forwarding the video and no one is
Right, no one comes by. The person could have took a different route, though. I mean, I love how they describe that in the news and stuff. They're like, no one was chasing her. I'm like, well, you don't know that. He could have took a different route, maybe
That's
out of
true.
the camera.
That's true. It's not like a cartoon where it's
Right.
Tom and Jerry all the time.
I'm gonna get you.
Right.
Run right past the same area.
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of think she was just out of it and I want to get to this spot and just I'm not gonna walk slowly because it's pretty far away. I'm just
Right.
gonna run there because I've been drinking. Fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's run.
Maybe she was being followed though because obviously some weird stuff happens later. 1 a.m. This is now Saturday. She's seen on surveillance at the downtown mall. Must have been where she was running to on Preston Avenue. At 1:06 a.m. Saturday, video captures Graham in front of Sal's Cafe Italia. She's walking east along the mall, and this is kind of weird. This is where speculation begins in the videos as to
Right.
who abducted her because she walks. You see a man first. You see a man if you pay attention to the video and
Yeah.
in a fashion that makes sense. You see a man walk by from the left to the right. Large black man. He has dreadlocks shoulder length, wearing shorts, white shorts, and a black shirt. And he's walking from left to right on the video, and then you see Hannah Graham walking on the other side.
Right.
There's like a
Right to
courtyard.
left.
There's like a courtyard.
Yeah,
He walks
yeah.
in front of the camera.
Kind of like it looks like an outdoor mall type
Right.
of outlet type setting.
Yeah, so you see him walk right in front of the camera on this side of the walkway,
Right.
of the courtyard, and then on the other side of the courtyard, you see her walking the opposite direction of him,
Right.
from right to left, and then just seconds later, you see him. He had cut up across to the other side of the courtyard and started walking in her direction behind her
Quickly. Now,
but kind of also walking behind people in a sense, like almost trying to remain unseen by her, or
right. Did you see the other guy in the video though?
Yeah, there was also a lot of speculation early on because a guy is walking on the other side of the courtart where she was walking in the same direction, ducks like into a business, and then ducks out behind her as she goes.
He actually comes out and starts following her before the black guy does.
Right.
This looks like, I don't know, a middle-aged white man from what I can tell. I can't really tell. But comes out of the store and starts following her. And then the black guy actually walks past him to catch up to her.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. Some people just chose to ignore that, but there was like a...
Now, I think he cleared his name, too. I think the police, either he went to them when he saw that they were reviewing tapes or whatever.
Yeah.
Somehow I read that he had come to them and cleared the air and also brought up some things that he overheard the guy that was
What
following
did he
her
say? How did he clear the air? Because to me, it looked
I
like
think
he
more
had-
than clearing the air, he like pointed his finger at the other guy.
Oh, for sure. Because that dude had bad intentions. The way he rips out of that storefront, I'm like, come on, bro. You saw us.
Do you think he had something to do with this now? Is that what you're saying?
No. I think he had bad intentions, and then somebody beat him to it.
Really?
Yeah. It's kind of
There's
like
that many creeps out there. That's what you're saying.
I think, well, dude, that dude comes out with vengeance. Y'all watch the video. Y'all tell me what you think. It's kind of like when you raise your hand in class and then the teacher doesn't call on you and you're like, fuck. And then somebody says something that's the right answer and that's not what you were going to say. You're
Well,
like, oh, I'm glad that didn't work.
This is where it gets interesting is the more you read on this, on the Elizabeth Graham case, Hannah Elizabeth Graham, the more you read, the more you find out that the black man that we've been talking about he'd been hanging out, loitering in this mall area all night, going to bars inside the mall and like being creepy, like saying weird things to people, making advances at women. There's a possibility the guy that ducked into the thing and like went behind saw him turn the corner in the courtyard to follow this girl and wanted to get in, like hear what was going on or get involved.
Then why didn't he stay with them?
I don't know.
Fear.
Because there are I don't know if it was this guy, but somebody later on to the police said like was able to corroborate things like conversations and like movements of the two that were going on. Like,
Right.
Said that.
I know he had his arm around her waist at
Yeah.
one point in time. They were walking like they looked like they were a couple. So maybe that discouraged him.
Someone overheard when they got to the parking lot and he was getting into his car and trying to get Hannah to go into the car with him.
Yeah.
Someone heard her say, "I'm not getting in your car with you." Like, was this all the same guy following them because he was suspicious of what was going on?
Okay, possibly. But I thought he stopped in the video. Did he not stop? The gentleman who first came out
I
of the
don't know.
storefront?
The video, I mean, it only goes so far from
Yeah.
right to left. It doesn't move, so.
Okay, that's true. Can't really tell. He does walk off screen then, right?
Yeah.
So we don't know. He could have trailed them back, and he could have been the sole witness that helped there. So, hey, I don't know. Maybe he
Knowing
was.
what we know now and what we'll get to, it's pretty obvious that he wasn't directly involved with what later takes place.
No, I wasn't saying that. I wasn't saying that he was involved.
Right.
I was just saying I don't think his original intentions of ripping out of that doorway like that after her were to just, I'm going to make sure she gets home safe.
Right.
Like, I just don't feel like that was his intentions. Maybe it became that after the other man approached her, and then I don't know.
I'm just trying to make sense of why that guy would act as though what you see body language wise from a camera. The only thing that makes sense to me is that maybe he had overheard some of the goings-ons with the other guy all night long within the mall, being creepy, drinking, going around, high-fiving people. I even saw like he was just acting strange and loitering around the mall. Maybe this
Yeah.
guy was keeping an eye on him. And when
maybe.
he saw Hannah walk by and saw the guy turn up the courtyard and start following her, maybe
Yeah.
he saw what was going on and wanted to get involved. We'd have to watch the video and watch his behavior before
Yeah.
that it takes place. If he's watching the other guy, maybe then we would know.
Right. Or maybe he walked into the storefront and was like, oh, shit, I left my phone at Five Guys.
And he just pissed and
He
turned
just
around.
pissed and just bolted out the door. Starts freaking power walking.
Let's watch the video again real quick, and then we'll
Okay, let's pause a minute and watch the video.
Yeah, we will
Let's do it.
time travel, and we'll be right back with our thoughts on the
Boom.
video once again. Okay, so we just watched the video again, and it's crazy the things you'll see when you Like we felt like we watched this video at least 10 times each, right?
At
Already,
least.
at least. And then we watch it again, and it's like a totally different thing.
Yeah.
Like we had it in our mind.
Those were both trying to prove our theories.
Yeah, we had it in our mind that the white guy on the other side of the courtyard in the white shirt went like into the store and then came out. He just like stopped and
He
was
just
like looking
stands
at
in front of the store.
Yeah, he like stops next to an umbrella and he's looking at his phone. And then as Hannah comes up with the other man following, trailing a little bit behind that had cut up across the courtyard, he then turns right behind Hannah and starts trailing her. The white guy.
But he jumps. It's like he jumps in between them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That part's kind of a mystery because, I mean, we know what eventually ends up happening. Mm-hmm. So we know that the dude actually wasn't involved, but it is strange his behavior, how he stopped.
Right.
Maybe he was a bit of a creep and he wanted to follow Hannah and check her out. I don't know.
Right.
But so from 1:06 a.m. is when we see that whole event go down with the courtyard. And then at 1:08, new camera footage picks up her trace. She's seen from the footage on a jewelry store within the downtown mall, walking side by side with the man that we saw catch up, the black man with the dreads.
Right.
His arm is now around her in the video, if you look real close. And then at 1:10 a.m., they are seen together at the Tempo restaurant, at the bar within Tempo restaurant, where he buys her a drink and is seen also there holding his arm around her as well.
Right.
Now, the last person to see Hannah Graham live was a witness that said that she was with a man who did not look friendly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that what he looked like for real?
He did have kind of an angry face in every picture I saw.
I feel like if somebody's coming up to you and like this girl was missing and then you saw her with somebody last, you're gonna be like, oh, he did not look friendly.
Oh, for sure.
It's just like human nature. It's like, oh no, that dude, he was creepy, man. There was no soul in his eyes.
Right.
Like, were you even close enough? No, I could just tell. There's like an energy in his eyes.
He was dark. He had a dark soul, black eyes like a doll's eyes. Yeah. So the last witness saw Graham standing by a vehicle, which was an orange Chrysler Sebring, and the witness heard her say, "I'm not getting in that car with you." Now maybe that's where this person got the whole not so friendly vibe. Was his actions.
Wait, what color was his car?
It was an orange Chrysler Sebring.
Oh, he definitely had that shit custom painted.
My dream car.
He had that shit custom painted.
Yeah. Now, the next morning, it would be discovered that by Hannah's parents and by her friends that she never did actually make it to another party or make it home.
Right.
And so the search would be on. The police would be notified. And on September 19th, the local police identified a man that they described as a person of interest whom they saw on surveillance cameras. We talked about all of that. They started to piece all that stuff together shortly when they learned that she was in the downtown mall.
Right.
Saw the footage of her at the bar and all this stuff, and they saw her walking with a man.
Yep.
They believed that she may have gotten into the car with this man after talking to a witness at the scene.
Right.
Police identified the person of interest as 32-year-old Jesse L. Matthew Jr. Now, they did this because of the camera footage at the downtown mall parking lot of his car. I'm sure they got a description of the car, and they may have been able to even get the license plates off of the
and like we
camera
said,
footage.
this is an orange Sebring, so it's not like something they're everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
As police spoke to Matthew at his apartment, I found this interesting. A Louisiana County Sheriff's Office detective, Buck Garner was his name. Him and his 7-year-old bloodhound Shaker circled the apartment complex. Now the dog picked up a scent near Matthew's apartment complex, and it was Graham's scent that they had. Obviously the parents must have provided something for the dog, and the scent that the dog was picking up, Shaker, was at the front and back door of Matthew's residence, on the inside of his passenger door of his car, and near the dumpster outside. So right away, they're probably thinking this has got to be the guy.
Right.
Like, we got his car footage,
Is that enough for a search warrant?
Yeah, because shortly thereafter, they would be searching everything. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I knew they got one, but I didn't know if anything else came up. I didn't see that about the search dog. So
Yeah, well, let's talk
curious how they
a little bit about who Jesse Matthew was. He had the nickname LJ.
For Leroy Jr., I suppose.
Right. He was currently working as a taxi driver and also, I believe, working for a hospital, like delivering patients or something like that. He had a taxi license.
Yeah, they didn't even need a stretcher with him. He just would come and pick them up and just be like, "Where are you going?
Right.
What room you in?"
He was a big dude. He had been a college football player. He had played college football for CNU, Christopher Newport University.
And also Liberty University. Correct?
Also Liberty as well.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about that because there were the reasons he left the colleges were. Let's just talk about it because in 01 and 02, he was a student at Liberty University in Lynchburg. He was
eventually suspended for sexual misconduct.
Yeah,
I
he
believe
was
what they labeled it.
He played for the football team, and he would end up in some kind of a scandal where another student said that he had allegedly attempted to rape her.
Right. And for those of you that don't know, Liberty University is a Christian college in Lynchburg, Virginia, and you can get kicked out for just having sex.
Yeah.
Let alone.
And his friends at the time, there was one friend in particular in a 48 Hours piece on this case, talked about how he was surprised and didn't believe that it was Jesse would do such a thing.
Well, that's what everybody said. He was very quiet, maybe socially awkward at most.
But in January of 2003, he began classes at Christopher Newport University, and it would be here in August that he would join the CNU football team. But just 1 month later, he was involved in another sexual assault investigation where he would leave that school as well. Now, there was conversations made behind the scenes about how he was able to go from one university to another, and CNU wasn't notified by Liberty about the fact that he was involved in a scandal. They just saw his transcripts from Liberty and just let him right in because they didn't know about the investigation that was going on there. They just kind of swept it under the rug, it seems.
Liberty allegedly is not very vocal about issues they have on campus for obvious reasons.
Is it like reputation? They don't want to hurt their reputation type thing. Yeah.
I mean, they're a very prestigious Christian college. They're very big on the East Coast.
Right.
And it's not something you want to let out.
Right.
These scandals. These are things that happen everywhere, people. They happen everywhere.
The thing is, they get out, because
they do. People
talk, and now we're talking about it, and everybody and their moms talked about it. The fact that he was able to transfer from Liberty to CNU, and the CNU wasn't notified, and then the same thing happened at CNU.
He's also probably a hell of a football player, Lauren. So
I heard he was.
And a good student as well. He's very intelligent.
Yeah. So this is what the police are working with as far as a potential suspect that they're dealing with. And now the bloodhound circling his apartment. Right. And they would obtain a search warrant, and they would search Matthew's car and apartment, but they didn't arrest him during this time. What they did do was they obtained a cigar tip from his car door, and they were going to send that off for DNA analyzation.
Right.
If that's the proper term.
Yeah, analyzation.
Analyze this.
Right.
Police would then be keeping Jesse under surveillance. However,
they lost him.
Didn't take long. He wasn't going to be a part of this. He planned to take off. He was seen like at a convenience store withdrawing all of his money, and then he took his grandmother's car, and as he was being followed, he just gunned it.
Right, because the cops didn't have enough evidence to really justify trailing him very close at this point, though.
Right.
Like, people were like, oh my God, you lost him. Oh my God. Well, it's not like they were trailing him like those guys that followed John Gacy around.
Yeah,
it's
where they're
like,
screeching tires together.
Yeah, it's not like that. I mean, they're just kind of, just keep a glance on him, keep your distance.
I don't know, because when they initially went to his apartment and the bloodhound was circling and everything and they were talking to him, he definitely seemed evasive from what I saw. Like, I read the police report on it, and it was like, he would avoid the actual question of, were you with Hannah? We saw you on footage with her. Did you drive with her? Did you take her somewhere? He would kind of be like, I want a lawyer. So, which is understandable. That's what I would say too. But initially, when you sit with the question, he didn't even say that. He just was like, let me go get my shoes, like that type of shit.
Yeah.
So they were pretty confident that he knew or had something to do with Hannah Graham being missing.
Right.
Now, so the police would lose him, and around this time also. This would be September 20th. We're talking about a volunteer search for Graham would take place throughout Charlottesville. Over 1,000 volunteers were reported to have been involved in the search. Now, on September 21st, the next day, the police issued an arrest warrant for reckless driving by Jesse Matthew. They just wanted to get this guy in custody. Now he's running from them, so they have a reason to take him in.
Probably drifting corners in that sea.
However, they don't know where the fuck he is. But they do search his house again, his apartment, on September 22nd. And they were going in on this search looking for a specific item. And they had got the court order to go ahead and go look for this item. And on his bedroom floor, they found a pair of stained shorts. Boom. They were worn by Matthew on the night that he was with Hannah Graham. And on the shorts, there was a stain on the left front thigh near the hem. And the stain was a mixture of DNA, which consisted of Hannah's blood and DNA from Jesse.
Wow. This is
pretty
a lesson.
Much,
do your fucking laundry.
Right.
Leave it on the floor. I mean, how long was it on the floor? Jesus Christ.
Or just burn the fucking shorts that you killed a girl wearing.
Don't keep the shorts.
No. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
On September 24th, or just leave them right with the body. Leave a direct.
Just take them off at the crime scene and leave them. Well, don't need these anymore.
Nope. On September 24th, so a couple days after that, the police announced that the suspect had been arrested in a sparsely populated of Galveston County, Texas. So he made it quite a ways.
He's on the beach.
Yeah, he took off in his grandma's car, and he was on the beach contemplating his life, I guess. And he was actually, this is kind of a crazy story. You can watch interviews with the woman that spotted him.
Yeah.
She'd been obviously watching the news and seen his
this is
face
kind of creepy.
On Most Wanted or whatever, and like it's just them two on the beach, and like he's in a car, and she's just like hanging out on the beach, and like she sees him, and she's like, huh, and then he like drives up and like stares at her with the window down. And it's like she said in that moment that he like stared at me, and she's like, I saw the picture flash in my head, and I knew it was him. Whoa. I just knew. And like he stayed on the beach, and so she's talking about this later, and she's like, I didn't know whether I should leave, and like,
what if he was just sitting there really concentrating, like, does she recognize me? Does she recognize me?
I'm sure he probably gave himself away out of his own
recognize me.
curiosity.
She ain't looking at me.
Right.
I think I'm just gonna stay.
She decided to play it cool and stay on the beach and call that way she could keep an eye on him, and actually she led the police right to him.
That's freaking brave.
Right?
Yeah.
So September 24th, they had him back in custody, and inside his car, he actually had a map of Mexico.
He
was
had plans.
already down in Galveston. He was heading to Mexico.
The old typical run to Mexico.
It's just crazy to think that like the one woman on the beach that was there recognized him, called the police, and like got him busted. That he may very well still be in Mexico right now had she not did what she done and had been there and happened to recognize him. It's just crazy because not everybody watches the news. Half the time I don't watch the news. I don't if there's some wanted dude, I probably would just walk right past him.
Yeah, probably.
You know, but as fate would have it, she called. He got busted. And then on October 18th, 2014, human remains were found at an abandoned property in Albemarle. How do you say it? Albemarle County, Virginia. This was actually would be determined to be near where Jesse grew up, and also coincidentally
within
near,
like 4 miles, right? It's pretty close.
Yeah, and also eerily near where Morgan Harrington's body was found as well, kind of the same rural part of the county.
Right.
Now, 10 days later, on October 24th, the remains were positively identified as Graham, although the police pretty much already knew.
Yeah.
Hannah's left nasal bone had a piece that was broken away. The medical examiner said that her most likely cause of death was strangulation or suffocation, and it was ruled a homicide.
Yeah, because like the girl that survived the rape, the very first girl that we talked about, you know,
we're about to talk more about that.
Right. The girl that later testified, and we talked about, she was a hero.
She remains anonymous, by the way. That's why we've never said her name.
Right, and she one of her statements was the fact that he put his hand over her nose and mouth so hard,
really,
like she felt like he was going to crush her face.
We talked about he's a big, strong dude. He was about 6'2", 280 pounds. Jesse was,
and that explains, I think, the broken, nasal bone.
Right.
And Hannah, he probably did the exact same method.
Yeah, and Morgan Harrington, she had
all his body weight.
She had a spiral arm fracture. Harrington did.
Right.
So like he just must have just grabbed her arm and jerked so hard where it like twisted.
Oh, it twisted and broke.
Yeah, okay. He was just brutal in the way that he did this. So it was ruled a homicide, and on the news, Michael Boone, who was the investigator from the 2005 rape case in Fairfax that we talked about, happened to see a picture of Jesse Matthew on the news about his involvement with Hannah Graham here. You know, they're thinking they got their guy. He sees the picture and he goes, that looks a lot like the sketch that my victim in my investigation from that 2005 rape, it looks a lot like the sketch.
10 years he held on to this sketch, man.
He
never stopped working this case.
Well, yeah, because it was a brutal case that never got solved, and I'm sure it kind of ate away at him. And he, thinking, oh my God, that looks a lot like him. He would go and get DNA from Jesse Matthew, or from the police rather, and have it tested. Now, this is big as well because we talked about how the rape in Fairfax was already matched. The DNA was already matched to Harrington.
The cases were already connected.
Yeah, they already knew that the rapist from 05 was the killer in 09 of Morgan Harrington.
Yep.
And now this guy sees the picture of Jesse Matthew and goes, that looks...
Yeah, just out on a whim. He says it looks really close to the sketch.
Right.
Just happens to see him.
Yeah, so they would have it tested, and it matched. It matched the DNA from his case, which now we have a connection between the rape and both murders. This is their guy. They think they have a serial rapist, and borderline serial killer. And when you start
Right.
looking through the timeline that we'll go through of Jesse's past and start thinking about the gaps in time where we know he killed,
Yeah.
but there was girls missing in between there that we, there's no
That
actual
happened
link.
that were
Bodies
in
haven't been
areas
found yet, so
where
they
he
can't
was,
link.
though.
Yeah, but areas that he were seem to fit his MO. Now, also, it's important to note that a lab that specializes in animal DNA would later determine that the dog hair found on Morgan's Pantera shirt shared genetic similarities with the hair taken from Matthew's dog,
Oh, popcorn.
Popcorn.
Yeah.
Now, we speculated because there's a video of Jesse Matthews' father,
Yeah.
where he's doing an interview early on when he's first suspected of being involved with Morgan Harrington, and he's
Right.
denying it, and he's talking
Yeah.
to the camera. And behind him is a tiny little wallet-sized photo of Jesse and a giant picture of a Rottweiler.
Like a 10 by 12 of a Rottweiler.
Yeah, and
I
it's
just
like-
picture me like, I love my son, but
Damn, I love popcorn.
popcorn's my pride and joy.
Popcorn's my boy. You're my boy, Blue. So Jesse Matthew would initially be indicted on the rape charge because that was the earliest one and they had a strong case there.
Mm-hmm.
And he would enter the Alford plea in 2005.
Right, which we talked about is you just submit to the overwhelming evidence against you. That's what the Alford plea is. We've talked about that in a couple other cases.
Right. Yeah. So after entering the Alford plea to the 2005 abduction, sexual assault, and attempted murder charge in Fairfax, he was given 3 life terms. And immediately after that trial happened, he was indicted on the murder of the Hannah Graham case. So it immediately came down. And the public was
a minute.
pressuring.
In between this time, though, wasn't he trying to make a plea? He was trying to make a plea for the location of Hannah's body.
Right.
He was trying to make a plea for 25 years.
Right. Not happening.
Yeah, and then
Meanwhile, the public's pissed off that they haven't even indicted him on Hannah Graham yet.
right, but then he goes to make this plea, so it's almost like, look, guys, he's obviously saying he did it. If he's making a plea to tell you where the body is,
Their lawyers were
it was an
meeting in private. Yeah.
It was an awkward little limbo situation here.
Yeah. And so after he's indicted on the Hannah Graham case, it was initially an indictment for first-degree murder. However, after more public pressure, they decided to change it to capital murder, and they thought they had enough to convict him and maybe get him the death penalty based on the brutality and randomness of his crime. He would instead enter a guilty plea on March 2nd, 2016, and would be sentenced to 4 life terms for the kidnapping and deaths of the two Virginia college students.
Right, and he also signed away all his parole rights, even
this is
geriatric parole, like
this
everything.
Is true life terms. Nothing can
Geriatric, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, basically, he did it to not get the death penalty,
Yeah.
but in doing that, the agreement terms are like you're never getting any
Exactly.
parole. You're done.
No
you're never
chances.
getting out of prison.
You're going to die in here.
Yeah. One moment in court that was interesting was Susan Graham talked in court about the horror of watching her daughter on camera, the surveillance camera that we
gotta
talked
be
about,
rough, man.
watching her walking and then having Matthew notice her and then stalk her. And she said, we saw what evil looks like. He hunted her. And then this kind of maybe gives us a little bit more insight on that whole conversation we had about the dude in the white shirt and how
Yeah.
he so-called
I
ducked
think this
into
is
a
where he comes
storefront.
full circle.
Really, he was just standing there. But we think this might be the witness that we were talking about. A witness watched as Matthew, a burly former football player, caught up to Graham and slung his arm around her neck. The witness also protested to Matthew, "You don't even know her." Matthew replied simply, "Hush," which just tells you like a big imposing man like Matthew, like bullying. Maybe that's what we saw.
That's
was
what I'm saying.
Him worried, concerned for Hannah, following them, saying something, and then him just going, "Hush, this isn't
And he was like,
concern you."
okay.
Maybe he turned and gave him that look that the lady on the beach got.
You know what? Actually, I'm going the other way anyways.
No, I was gonna go grab a smoothie.
My car's over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So either way, it's. I mean, I'm glad he came forward with that, but
Right.
he could have. I feel
Little
like he
to
could
do
have
about
done more.
nothing now. It's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we kept talking about this timeline of Jesse and like girls that were missing and did he have anything to do with them? We got a little list here of cases that were investigated and still being investigated by law enforcement for possible connection to Matthew.
Right.
They date back as far as 2003
Right.
and go all the way through 2010.
And see, now this obviously doesn't include the stuff that happened at Liberty.
Right.
So they're not really trying to tie him to that at all at the very end.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Like we said before, that's Liberty is the Christian college in Lynchburg, and they've suspectedly been known to maybe sweep some things under the rug.
Yeah, you were saying
Allegedly. Please don't sue me, Liberty.
Supposedly, you talked to somebody who lives in the area and said that there was talk of a body that popped up on campus.
Well, I know
and then-
someone who went there shortly after. Well, not shortly after, but a couple years, about 6-7 years after Jesse Matthews' stay there. Mm-hmm. And some of the rumors were still going around there. Campus police were real involved in some investigations there. So,
Right.
again, allegedly,
Right.
word of mouth,
Well, let's just
not
burn.
facts.
Yeah.
Go.
Well, let's just burn through LJ, Jesse Matthews' history and his timeline.
Oh, we that cool with him now? After 45 minutes, we're
LJ,
cool?
my boy.
We call him LJ now?
No, fuck him. He's still alive and he's scary, but fuck you. You're not getting out, Jesse.
Oh, I know where he's going to come if he does.
Yeah. So we talked about him being named a suspect at Liberty University when he left college and then went to another college, CNU. Around this time, though, in January of 2003, a woman named Autumn Day was last seen in Newport on July 24th, 2003. She was 24 years old when she disappeared. She was 5'5" and weighed 180 pounds, and her disappearance still remains unsolved. The last time anyone saw Autumn was 4:30 p.m. on July 24th as she left the Executive Inn hotel with a man. According to police news release, she was reported missing about the same time the next day. Mm-hmm. Her vehicle was later found in the Food Lion parking lot in the Warwick Springs Shopping Center on Warwick Boulevard. So it's during the time when he's between allegations. You know, he would end up begin classes at January 2003 at Christopher Newport University.
Right.
This was in July, and then in August he joined the football team, where a month later he was suspected in another allegation.
Right.
And then in September of 2003, Sophie May Rivera was last seen in Newport on September 7th, 2003. She was 31 years old when she disappeared. She was 5'4" and weighed 105 pounds. Her disappearance remains unsolved as well. And then in September of 2005, 2 years after that, was when he attacked the 26-year-old woman in the parking lot on her way home from the grocery store.
Right.
2007, he got his DMV permit to operate a taxi cab in the Charlottesville area. And then in October of 2009, Cassandra Morton, age 23, disappeared from a Lynchburg neighborhood.
And then
Then
brings
7
us-
days later
yeah.
was the Morgan Harrington disappearance.
And that's where we picked up.
Right.
So all this other stuff happened before, and he wasn't necessarily convicted of those.
Right, and he's
Correct.
not
It was just-
necessarily guilty of those, but it is suspicious that he's
Right.
in the area, and they're
Matches
unsolved.
his MO, all that good stuff.
Right. One thing that's also important to note about this whole case was that Alexis Murphy, who was a 17-year-old, in August 2013, she was last seen at a gas station, and there ended up being a guy convicted for this, Randy Taylor, who was kind of a creep that hung out at the store. He was found with DNA and all this stuff, but they never found her body. And not to say that Jesse was involved. That's not why I'm bringing this up. It's just interesting because Alexis Murphy's aunt would end up becoming, and it's just a cool story that Alexis's aunt would end up getting involved in the searches for both of these girls that we talked about today.
Yep.
And they almost have like this kinsmanship, an unfortunate way to meet each other, but like they all had solidarity for each other as mothers who had daughters that went up missing, or nieces in that case, that went missing. And in her case, Alexis still hasn't been found. So it's just,
I'm sure that helped more than you think.
Oh, yeah.
Those families uniting that way, because you got to feel when that happens, it's like, gosh, this just doesn't happen to people like that I know. This doesn't affect this. This is like stuff you see in movies
Right.
or on 60 Minutes. It's not something that happens to me. I got to be the only person in the world
Right.
to experience this, and it's nice to know that you're not alone, even in such a tragedy.
Yeah. So, I mean, all in all, possibly a serial killer. I mean, you need 3, right? That's the number. He definitely killed 2. And there's several girls that went up missing that we may never find out what really happened to them. But maybe some of the 48 hours thing, we're saying we need to keep pressure on that city and the police department there to keep investigating and try and connect Jesse to these girls, maybe if they can, because he's sitting there in jail. They've got his DNA on file. Mm-hmm. Figure it out, but you got to find the bodies first.
What do you think his reason is for not go ahead and just admitting to this other things? What do you think his reason is?
Nothing to gain.
He's already made a
he's
plea.
got more reputation to lose because he still loves his family. His family still loves him, and
That's what I
they
think,
probably
too.
try to see the good in him.
That's what I think too.
His family, they stood up on a podium at his conviction and apologized to the families,
They
and
did.
they were very respectful about the whole thing and admitted their son's guilt, but said they still loved him. And
Well, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that was one of the things he apologized to his family, and he apologized not verbally to the victims, but he
Right.
did have his lawyers go and speak to the families and express his sorrows. But I mean, he was a quiet guy, anyways.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure it was hard for him to talk. I'm not taking empathy with this guy at all, but I'm just not
Right.
showing empathy for a killer. But there was remorse in
Scariest-
his family. It seemed like you can't really blame the upbringing here. I don't
Right.
think.
Scariest kind of killer for parents out there with daughters, where it's just a big imposing man who's a sexual predator and just randomly attacks girls who are wandering alone. It's
Right.
and it's like you like when you see girls that or women that flock together and like they
Yeah.
stay. There's little tricks I think women all do to stay safe from creeps, the creepers out there. Not the creepers in the sense of our show, but the real
Right.
creeps. Stick together. That's why they go to the bathrooms together a lot. I think it's just kind of
I watched an interview with a guy. He's a criminal profiler. His name's Jim Clement, and he talked about like most serial killers that are kind of close to what Jesse Matthew did. They look for vulnerability, then they look for
vulnerable. They're alone. They're drunk.
alone.
Both of these girls were.
and then third is am I attracted to them?
Right.
And then, but he said sometimes if two of the things are too overwhelming, then they won't care. Like if she's vulnerable, but she's not really alone, she's out in the open, but he's super attracted to her, he could throw all that shit out the window. And that could have been why he was caught on video camera and things like that,
Right.
or something else. Or like maybe he's not that attracted to her, but she's alone in the middle of a parking lot,
Right.
and she's drunk.
Right.
See what I mean? So like, it was kind of neat to hear that kind of profile. He writes for like Criminal Minds and shit.
Right, and Jesse would later say in interviews, because you can read some of the details from like court that was going to be presented at court if he actually went to trial for the capital murder case. They've released all the stuff that the case was, that the prosecution was going to use against him, and some of it is like conversations they had with him, and where he said he was drunk. During at least I believe the Hannah Graham case, he was there's actual like debit card purchases that they found from him at that bar that we said that he was with her at, and he bought her. He'd been at that bar
Speaking
earlier
of
that
that
night,
bar.
and there was several people in the bar that said he was
Yes.
making creepy advances at women in the bar.
But here's what's crazy. The person that's seen him the most, or the people that's seen him up close with her, would not say anything because like they were the staff. The staff that worked at the bar denied that she was ever in there because she was underage.
Right.
Because they didn't want to lose their liquor license.
She was
didn't help-
20.
They didn't help at all in the case.
Right.
Nothing. So they only had to go on these eyewitnesses of people just sitting around in the bar and things that said she was there. But yet here you go, you got the bar owner and the bartenders and everybody, servers are saying, no, she was never in here. She was just outside.
She wasn't even 20. She was 18. I got her mixed up.
That's what I'm saying. She was
It was
18, she was
Harrington that was
underage.
20. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
18
even
years
that's
old.
underage.
Right.
I mean, to drink, maybe in a bar.
But yeah, there were people in the bar that said that he'd been going around, making advances at women, and there was also women that later said that they rode in a taxi with him, and he was trying to get them to offer sexual favors rather than payment for the ride that he had given them, things
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
So it all kind of came together in the end, and we found out what kind of person he really was. He was a quiet guy and whatnot,
I mean, this is
good
a guy
football
that
player and student and stuff.
and
but
volunteered, helped coach
he did,
kids.
yeah. He coached high school
very
high school
involved.
football players, and yeah.
He even had his family fooled, man. Like we joked about his
Well-
dad earlier with the picture of the dog, but his dad even seemed sincere. He's like, when I heard these allegations, he said, I thought, maybe he was picking him up, give him a ride home. He said, I figured that as far as it would go with Jesse. I would never suspect this type of violence from him.
Well, it's
not
no
like him.
different than a Randy Kraft or a Robert Hansen. They got their daytime life, but then maybe when they drink, they get creepy, or maybe just at night they turn into a stalker type.
Right.
They get creepy. I don't know. But
I just wonder if the killing was part of the plan, or if he was just such a big guy and so strong that like he just overwhelmed them. Maybe I don't feel like killing was the goal for this guy.
yeah, maybe just to not get caught.
People
though.
they make him out like he's like this monster,
I don't
like serial killer, and I don't think killing was the point. I think rape was obviously
Right.
but I don't think killing.
Oh no,
was.
Then again, you talked about the first girl, the rape that he
Yeah, in Fairfax.
in Fairfax.
Right.
How violent that was, how he picked her up, brought her into the woods. Was he going to kill her had that guy not pulled up and had the headlights on the woods, and she was able to run out of the woods? And
Yeah. If he
you
was
talked
killing,
about how he had crushed her face almost,
Right.
almost broke her nose, like he did to
yeah,
one
like
of the
Hannah.
victims. Yeah,
I feel like if he was killing on purpose. I think it was just to cover his tracks.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
think he just
to
had
get
no
away with
remorse,
it.
yeah.
I'm not sure he was into the killing itself. It was more just the
Right.
means to an end type of thing.
Right. Yeah, we're not looking at like a twisted kill for the
We're
kill
not
for the
looking at a
actual kill.
necrophiliac type,
No.
but he was a repeat sexual predator, offender,
Mm-hmm.
killer, possibly serial killer. Will we ever know? I don't know. If the bodies turn up and they're able to link evidence, hopefully that'd be great to get closure for those families that still don't know where their daughter is.
I feel like there's probably more out there
Yeah.
because there's some pretty big gaps. But then sometimes you
Big
tie
gaps, yeah.
then you tie bodies together that are weeks apart.
And essentially he was on the prowl all the time because he was a taxi driver. Like the
Perfect job.
right, Morgan Harrington, that track where the purse was found
Right.
by the track runner.
Yep.
That was like apparently a staging area for taxi drivers for the arena. So like they would park there and people would catch rides.
Oh wow.
So that's why it happened there. He's like I said, perpetually on the prowl. So
You know,
I'm sure there were more victims, maybe not that got killed, but I'm sure he probably raped more women that never said anything. You know, that,
right.
And you can't blame him. It's
weird that he goes through all the trouble to kill him, but he's very lazy with the cleanup.
oh yeah, and he got more brash. Like I think that night at the
Well,
mall
I mean-
when he was strutting around and like he's seen with her. He's the last person to be seen with her at the mall, and he's
Right.
got his arm around her and.
Well, if all these killings are tied to him, dude, he was doing it for 12 years.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, he's probably getting confident this time. 12 years is a long time to be getting away with stuff. You probably start to think you're untouchable, man.
Right.
And like you said, like we talked earlier, there's probably even more tied in these gaps. If he is tied to the others as well.
Yep. Well, that's our case this week. I don't have much else to say about it. We'll see. I guess time will tell whether more cases get linked to him, more of those missing persons cases get solved, hopefully. But bad guy, definitely.
Yeah. I never heard of it. I never heard of it till you brought it to my attention.
Well, no, I don't think it's a big, well-known case, but I think it's important. It was a good one to cover. It had a lot of different twists and turns to it with the camera footage and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. It's amazing that they had that much evidence and it still took that long.
Yeah, I think we do so many cases from like the 70s on our show.
Yeah.
You know, like we did the whole Freeway Killer series.
We like to think that we're so quick and so
70s.
efficient in the 2000s.
Yeah. Well, no, it just brings different things to the front. You know, we got more advanced DNA. You can get quicker results with that stuff. But also, like the camera footage, I find that fascinating to watch. I think a lot of people do. If you go to YouTube and you search like missing persons surveillance footage, like the last time they're at a gas station, it's just, I don't know what it is about
eerie.
it. You get an eerie feeling. It's strange, and you always feel like you can connect dots by watching the video. Like, look at the way that guy's looking at her.
Right.
He's just buying crackers at the fucking convenience store.
What a creep.
Right.
He's buying Lance.
Right. Look at the way he filled that fountain drink. That guy was a killer for sure.
Look at that. It's a weird amount of
It's like
ice.
a good example is we were freaking sitting there analyzing the shit out of the guy who was sitting there looking at his phone and ended up walking behind Hannah as she came by.
That dude's guilty, I could tell.
Either of us could. I think there's something inherently about surveillance footage that makes everyone seem creepy. Like you see that black and white surveillance footage, even you see yourself and you're like, I look like I'm about to commit a crime right now.
You look at yourself in the bank, you're like, holy shit. You're like making sure your hands are visible.
You're right.
Like, oh, I think I'm going to do an over the head stretch right now.
Right. Yeah. So
Making sure nothing in your pockets looks like a gun. Like, oh, I don't really know.
right.
Maybe I should take off the ski mask.
Right. Do you want to throw it out there? That I'm done with this case. I'm done. I don't want to rip up the pages. It's over.
Are we ripping them up?
Yeah.
All right.
But do you want to talk and maybe get a feel from the listeners as far as the potential next case? Because we're kind of torn. We're thinking about doing a case that's not a murder case at all. There's no one dies, but it is like a infamous crime.
I found it freaking interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like we can be goofy as shit and not have to worry about offending
nobody
any
died.
victims. Yeah, you can feel good.
Everybody
So
lives.
tell us what you think. It's in the fashion of a heist type thing
Yeah.
where a lot of money.
We don't want
was
to give too much
extorted.
away.
Right.
But it was a big heist.
Because we don't want anyone jumping on this shit and taking
Right.
our thunder.
Exactly.
But we're putting the feelers out there. Would you guys still download that at the same? Did everyone want to hear that? Let us know.
Yeah. We'll make it good.
Right.
We'll make it good. Well, we'll try.
Right.
Can't promise.
So that
you.
could be next week if you guys give us the right answers. Otherwise, we'll just pick another horrific murder to talk about. That's cool too.
Another old slice and dice.
Right. You got some shout outs?
No, I do not. Well, actually, yes, I do. I want to give a shout out to Emerald Signs. Emerald Custom Signs.
Hell yeah, dude. She made us.
She's making us some dope signs.
She just posted it on Instagram. We're going to have to repost it.
Yeah, we will. It's freaking amazing. Look on our Instagram or search at True Crime Guys or whatever.
Right.
It's dope.
And then also James T. Hit us up on Instagram. Cool dude. I had some conversations with him. Naughty Nitwit on Instagram. I'm just looking through some random conversations with people. Nerdy Chick Fitness. Anybody that posted this week, like just like a screen cap of listening to our show or picture of their
guys. Anybody that's given a
stickers.
review this week, thank you.
Yeah.
iTunes reviews, thank you so much.
Oh yeah,
we
big
can read a
time.
couple of those. If you
Yeah,
want.
I've got some here.
All right. Well, what do you have? Do we have any bad ones that we can analyze?
Nah.
Fuck, we need to get worse. Hey, how about this 4-star?
Wow, that was a
this
douchey
is a
thing to say. We
this
need to
is-
get worse.
this is a good critical thing. Good criticism.
Okay, yeah.
Positive
I like
criticism. Let's go ahead.
Because some of them are so unfounded. Do you have the same one I have?
Yeah, the amateur's doing their best. You can read it.
Okay, here we go.
You're the best
This
reader.
is by, I'm guessing Kansas Murray, K.S. Murray. A little too self-regarding, a little too much talk about reviews and objectifying listeners' comments without considering their own underlying value of them.
That sounds like us.
A little klutzy, yeah.
Yep.
But they do their homework and usually keep things moving in an interesting way. As amateurs, their focus gets lost at times. Minor mistakes, such as the term chicken hawk, used erroneously. And then she corrected us on the proper way to use chicken hawk.
Yeah, but
that
chicken
kind of
hawk
stuff
was the term for a male prostitute at the time. We were just being time sensitive. We weren't talking about just like young people as chickens and people who prey on them as chicken hawks. That's not the reference we were making.
Right. But either way, I mean, we are amateurs doing our best. I would say that's like
Well, we're
that should be our
definitely
fucking tagline. Because
amateurs.
we don't have any degrees. We don't have law degrees. We don't have
Dude,
criminology.
Degrees are overrated.
They are.
Okay.
We have a lot of listeners who
They're not.
say they. Well, no, they must be because we have a lot of listeners that say they're using our show as like a study guide for their fucking exam coming up. I'm like, that's sketchy.
Okay. Good luck with
Good luck.
that one.
Let us know how that went, please.
C- at best.
But yeah, I mean, we do study hard for these at the same time. Like, what information is out there, we're trying to look at multiple sources and do our homework on these cases. We really do. I spend sometimes I get frustrated. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is pretty spot on. I want to thank Ryan the Accuser for his great review. Let's see, Lisa Luna,
Johnny K05.
Mer Scooby. Oh, Laurel, definitely Oh, Laurel. I believe she's a new patron. She's been blowing us up
Okay,
on
awesome.
social media and stuff. She actually just posted about us this morning. She posted about the Green River Killer episode. She said she really liked it.
Yeah, we had fun with that one.
Yeah.
That's on our Patreon
Yeah.
as well. Patreon.com. True Crime Guys.
Yep. Who else?
Corey Murphy. Hey, man. Thanks for listening. Thanks for reviewing. True Crime Fanatic. Thanks. It's a 4-star. It says, new listener, and I have to say I'm pleased. Great true crime stories. I enjoy the humor that you guys have. Keep up the great work. I don't know why it's 4-star. Those all sound like good things.
Like I said, we're a 4-star podcast. So
We are,
it's
at
all
best. Okay, what else are we doing today?
good. You want to give just some quick shout-outs to some other cool true crime podcasts, like Once Upon a Crime with our friend Esther.
Esther, yes. I'm sending out your gold sticker, Esther, this coming week,
Yeah.
because you're awesome.
Any others you've been listening to?
I've been listening to Dark Topic still, of course.
Yeah, it's a good one. True Crime Garage, obviously. Big
Well,
one.
yeah.
I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it.
You guys heard of Sword and Scale?
That sounds interesting.
Sounds interesting. I don't know. I'm gonna go give it a shot.
I don't know. All right,
man.
we're
We've been listening to a lot of Bill Burr, of course.
Oh, my God.
Let's give Bill Burr a shout out. He doesn't. He
Hey,
needs it.
you guys should, every one of you, just get together and tweet at him and tell him True Crime Guys talk about you not incessantly.
That would be amazing if he just referenced us
Just acknowledge us, Bill
one
Burr.
time. I listen on my trips to work every freaking day.
These boys doing podcasts. The True Crime fucking podcast. This lady.
For me,
I just feel like
They feel
there's
like-
too many true crime podcasts, and
I-
they're just another one in the sea
Right.
of podcasts.
they're another one. They're nothing special.
These guys suck for me.
Okay.
What the fuck do I know? What the fuck do I know?
Also, almost forgot. Big shout out to our buddy Rado, the guitarist for the Dirty Hooks. He made us a recording. We're going to use it as our outro this week. Let us know if you guys like it, if we should keep using it. Also, go check out their website, thedirtyhooks.com, to hear their music and support them because they're our buddies and they support us. See you later. Keep creeping.
Tell me in a sentence who you are. Nobody. If you get too close to